Good morning. Look what I've got here. I've had this book a long time. This is a 1969 edition. What is that? Hill and Wang edition of The Confessions of Aleister Crowley. Now, The Confessions of Aleister Crowley, believe me, it has everything to do with this High Holy Day. A lot of this was dictated in the 1920s when Crowley was at the Abbey of Thelema. And it was during a period of not only Crowley's initiatory career, but it was also a period of time he was doing a lot of cocaine. Now, some people handle it better than others. Crowley, it seemed, used it to ignite the white heat of literary inspiration. So a lot of people have difficulty with Confessions of Aleister Crowley because it seems like he spends so much time on the minute details of many of his experiences and the events surrounding his many adventures, and there are many of them. One in particular concerns, he goes on and on and on about the particular color of something and all the different names for that color and stuff. So if you're ever been around anyone that has an explosion of loquaciousness or whatever, the you can't stop talking, Crowley just couldn't stop writing in a bunch of places. But anyway, happy St. Patrick's Day, who our good friend Rodney Orpheus assures us is a phony Irish celebration, and corned beef and cabbage is not eaten in Ireland. I don't know about that, but it's not a big thing. And but anyway, happy St. Patrick's Day. If you want to celebrate, driving a thriving pagan religion out of one's native country. But I digress. Happy Purim, which in a way is a wonderful, an original feminist holiday. If you're not familiar with the story of Esther. So if you're celebrating Purim right now, you might be fasting until sunset tonight, but then eat all those cookies you got in the gift basket. Anyway, we're talking about the Thelemic Holy Days, the reenactment of, or the review of the circumstances leading up to the Supreme Invocation of Horus, which took place at March 20th, 1904, and the writing of the Book of the Law, April 8th, 9th, and 10th. So, but yesterday, I mentioned a couple things. I mentioned the fact that Crowley and Rose spent an evening in the King's Chamber, and that's where he showed her the sylphs, and he made the chamber light up. He tried to show her the sylphs many times. the first time they slept in the king's chamber was months and months earlier than the March and April dates, 1904. It was in 1903 that they were sleeping in the king's chamber, and it was 1903 when he wanted to show her the sylphs as they spent the night in the king's chamber. And he writes about that here in his autobiography. We reached the king's chamber after dismissing the servants at the foot of the grand gallery. By the light of a single candle placed on the edge of the coffer, I began to read the invocation. Now this is from Eliphas Levi's Prayers to the Elementals. No, excuse me. It was a preliminary invocation of the Goetia. But as I went on, I noticed that I was no longer stooping to hold the candle near the light, or hold the page near the light. I was standing erect, yet the manuscript was not less, but more legible. Looking about me, I saw that the king's chamber was glowing with a soft light, which I immediately recognized as the astral light. Then he goes on for quite a while describing how to name the color it was and the quality of the light. But he ends up saying there are various theories, but I personally believe that the force is now called radioactivity, which we know to be possessed in some degree by every particle of matter, is responsible. Okay. But anyway, he said the king's chamber lit up. That's one of the few wonder stories of Thelema. We were reading yesterday from his notes that are in the Equinox of the Gods, and we'd sort of gotten just as really, look how fragmentary these notes were. But then he goes on a little later. Remember, starting February 20th, he began golf. But on March 16th, he began the invocation of Iao. And I read that yesterday. That too was from the preliminary invocation of the Goetia. That was yesterday, Wednesday, March 16th. Today it simply says, and he writes this in Greek, Thoth appears. Now I'm going to kind of skip ahead here to the Book of Results. Yesterday, Wednesday, March 16th, I invoke Iao. And his notes say, Frater P tells us that this was done by the ritual of the Bornless One, which we read yesterday, identical with the preliminary invocation in the Goetia, merely to amuse his wife by showing her the sylphs. She refused or was unable to see any sylphs, but because, quote, inspired, unquote, kept on saying, they're waiting for you. And he says, note, the maiden name of his wife was Rose Edith Kelly, so he called her Urada, the Arabic for rose. And she's hereafter signified by Urada, the seer, or W for short. W says, quote, they, unquote, are, quote, waiting for me, unquote. Now, not that I want to throw a monkey wrench of confusion into things, but I want us to think. The Book of Results says, W says, quote, they, unquote, are, quote, waiting for me. Unquote. Okay, today, Thursday, the notes simply said Thoth appeared. And here it says on the 17th, it is, quote, all about the child, unquote. Also, all Osiris. And in his notes, they note the cynic and skeptic tone of this entry, how different it appears in the light of Liber 418. Thoth invoked with great success, indwells us. And his parenthetical note, yes, but what happened? Frater P has no sort of idea. So on this holy day, the 17th, I guess the watchword for it is, but what happened? Okay, to see what happened, let's look again in his autobiography here, autohagiography. And let's see. Oh, remember I said that they dressed up like a prince and princess? We landed in Port Said on Monday, February the 8th, and went to Cairo on the following day. It was part of the plan of the gods that my romantic passion and pride, the intoxicated infatuations with my hymeneal, referring to weddings, marriage, happiness should have induced me to play a pearl part in the world's stage. I called myself Count Svarveff, Svareff, Count Svarveff, and Aleister MacGregor, for quite definite and legitimate reasons, but I had never made a deliberate fool of myself by assuming an absurd alias. I was not for a moment deceived by my own pretense that I wanted to study Mohammedanism, and in particular the mysticism of the fakir, or the darwish, or the Sufi from within. I proposed to pass myself off in Egypt for a Persian prince with a beautiful English wife. I wanted to swagger about in a turban with a diamond aigrette and sweeping silken robes, or a coat of cloth of gold with jeweled talwar by my side, and two gorgeous runners to clear the way for my carriage through the streets of Cairo. So you think I was exaggerating yesterday with my make way, make way. Okay, let's get back to today's thing. The Thoth. It's all about the child. Note that, okay. Let's see here. Okay, so what was this invocation of Thoth, and what was the great success that indwelled them? Remember, it was Thursday. Also remember, Crowley, throughout his honeymoon, and they've been traveling through Ceylon, and they've been to China once already, and just everywhere. Crowley was experimenting with opium and hashish, and probably a number of other things. And he and Rose were making passionate physical love a lot. So they were pumping themselves into altered states of consciousness quite a bit. And it may be why Crowley's unclear in his diaries exactly what it was, but he does say elsewhere, somewhere in his confessions, that he performed the invocation of Thoth as it appears in his Liber Israfel. And that is also included as part of the rite of Mercury, of his rites of Eleusis. And because today is the day that he invoked Thoth, that Thoth appears, I thought I would quickly just share the invocation of Thoth. The speech in the silence, the words against the son of night, the voice of Mercury in the universe in the presence of the eternal gods, the formulas of knowledge, the wisdom of breath, the radix of vibration, the shaking of the invisible, the rolling asunder of the darkness, the becoming visible of matter, the piercing of the coils of the stooping dragon, the breaking forth of the light. At the ending of the light, at the limits of the night, stood Mercury before the unborn ones of time. Then was formulated the universe. Then came forth the gods thereof, aeons of the bornless beyond. Then was the voice vibrated. Then was the name declared. At the threshold of entrance between the universe and the infinite, in the sign of the enterer, stood Mercury, as before him the aeons were proclaimed. In symbols did he record them. In breath did he vibrate them. For between the light and the darkness did he stand. Majesty of Godhead, wisdom crowned Thoth, Lord of the gates of the universe, thee we invoke. O thou of the ibis head, thee we invoke. Thou who wieldest the wand of double power, thee do we invoke. Thou who bearest in thy left hand the rose and cross of light and life, thee we invoke. Thou whose head is as an emerald, and thy nemesis as the night sky blue. Thou whose skin is of flaming orange, as though it burned in a furnace, thee we invoke. Behold, I am yesterday, today, and the brother of the morrow. I am born again and again. Mine is the unseen force from which the gods are sprung, that giveth life unto the dwellers in the watchtowers of the universe. I am the charioteer of the east, lord of the past and the future. I see by mine own inward light. Lord of resurrection, who cometh forth from the dusk, and whose birth is from the house of death. O ye two divine hawks upon your pinnacles, who keep watch over the universe, ye who accompany the bier into the house of rest, ye who pilot the ship of Ra, ever advancing onwards to the heights of heaven, Lord of the shrine which standeth in the center of the earth. Behold, I am he. Behold, he is in me, and I in him. Mine is the radiance in which Thoth floateth over his firmament. I travel on high. I tread upon the firmament of Nu. I raise the flashing flame and the lightning of mine eye, ever rushing forward in the splendor of the daily glorified Ra, giving my life to the dwellers of earth. If I say, come up upon the mountains, the celestial waters shall flow at my word. For I am Ra incarnate, Kephra, created in the flesh. I am the image of my father, Tamu, Lord of the city of the sun. The God who commands is in my mouth. The God of wisdom is in my heart. My tongue is the sanctuary of truth, and a God sitteth upon my lips. My word is accomplished each day, and the desire of my heart realizes itself like that of Thoth when he creates his works. I am eternal, therefore everything acts according to my designs, and everything obeys my words. Therefore I say unto thee, come forth unto me from thine abode in silence. Utterable wisdom, all light, all power, Thoth, Hermes, Mercury, Odin, by whatever name I call thee, thou art still unnamed and nameless to eternity. Come thou forth, I say, and aid and guard me in this work of art. The star of the east that dost conduct the Magi, thou art the same all present in heaven and in hell. Thou vibratest between the light and the darkness, rising, descending, changing, ever, ever, yet ever the same. The sun is thy father, thy mother the moon. The wind hath borne thee in its bosom, and the earth has nourished the changeless Godhead of thy youth. Come thou forth, I say, come thou forth, and make all spirits subject unto me, so that every spirit of the firmament, and of the aether, and of the earth, and under the earth, on dry land and in the water, of whirling air and of rushing fire, and every spell and scourge of God may be obedient unto me. That was March 17th, the Invocation of Thoth. Thoth appears. And that will be it for today. We'll pick up Crowley's adventure, Crowley and Rose's adventure in Cairo in 1904. We'll pick it up tomorrow. Continue to be good to yourself, be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law,